When it comes to small business, everything is personal. Welcome to the Making Business Personal podcast, presented by Collective Alternative. Join me, Levi each month as I sit down with marketing professionals and small business leaders to discuss common challenges small businesses are facing with their marketing and share strategic solutions and tactics you can implement to enhance your presence and make your brand stand out among the rest. Let's get personal.
Welcome to another episode of the Making Business Personal podcast. Today, I'm your host, Kylie Kendall, the content director at Collective Alternative, and joining me is Michael Rodgers, service manager of Justin Dorsey Plumbing. Hi, Michael.
Hey, Kylie. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Excited to do this.
Yes, we're excited to have you here in our new podcast studio, in our new office space, so this is fun. You get to be the first guest. And today we are talking about lead generation and why it's important for small business. So I guess to start it off, what is lead generation? Lead generation is the process of capturing and attracting your ideal audience, your target clients, to connect with you, engage with your business, and then hopefully convert them into a client or customer. And this is incredibly important, obviously, because as business owners, you want customers then equal revenue. You need to make money to, keep your business going. So it's a very big part of marketing and what we do. So I'm excited to have you join us and talk about your lead generation then for Justin Dorsey Plumbing.
Yeah, that's a very critical part of the service industry. Our business depends heavily on lead generation. And so it's a very significant part of our total marketing package that we have.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a great way. It's a very important part of what we do. We make your brand look good and we can send out all that stuff, but if we're not bringing you customers, we're not doing our job right. So can you talk to me a little bit about just how long have you been with Justin Dorsey?
So I started in the field, and that was about 8 years ago. And I just started at the very bottom, just riding along, seeing I didn't even really know what all plumbing was. Obviously I, use the faucet and flush a toilet, but I didn't know what it all entailed. And I rode along with another service technician and found that I really liked the idea of it because it, at least in the service department, there's a lot of problem solving that you have to do. You show up at someone's house and something doesn't work, and you got to figure out why it doesn't work and get them into a better place than when you got there. So I really liked that aspect of the business. And so I went through and did an apprenticeship just like everyone else. And then once I completed my apprenticeship, then I moved into a management position where I oversee, we have, 10, 12 technicians that we send out to, service our customers.
So with that, managing that, you're then seeing those calls come in, you're seeing those leads come in firsthand. And, through your years at Justin Dorsey, can you just talk about from, 8 years ago, what your lead generation process looked like to what it is now?
Sure. So kind of going back a little bit to what we were talking about before.
Yeah.
Because we're a small business, a lot of people wear multiple hats, right? So as part of overseeing the service department for our plumbing company, I also oversee the marketing as well. And so lead generation is a critical part of that. Of course, we work a lot with retention and keeping the customers that we have and having them continue to call us back. I guess most people have a plumbing issue of some sort about every 14 months. So we want to keep the customers that we have happy, but we also are always wanting to engage new people and have new customers. And, we're trying to keep the phone ringing to a certain part or for a certain perspective. Now, lead generation has changed drastically in the service division in the last 10 to 15 years. And the biggest part of that is, of course, an online presence. So 10 years ago, when we first started looking at marketing, we probably spent 60% or more of our budget on yellow page ads. And then 4 years ago, I think it was either Yellow Pages or Yellow Book, they announced to everyone they weren't even putting one out anymore.
Yeah.
Now, I've noticed that there are some smaller local directories, but I mean, we have a very, very small part of our lead generation is in Yellow Pages. It's all about, an online presence and online marketing, which is always changing, right? It's not the same as it was even 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. And new platforms or new apps or new social media apps come out, and ways of looking at that change all the time. Mm-hmm. And so for us, well, like for me specifically, overseeing not just a business and a service department, but then trying to understand how to do marketing, there's no way I'd be able to really manage that effectively at all. 10, 15 years ago, once a year, the Yellow Page guy came out and said, well, how many pages do you want in the Yellow Pages? How big do you want it? How much do you want to spend? And then you see him next year when the new book comes out. Okay. But because of how things change so rapidly, it's not like you can't do it that way anymore.
Right. And I guess that's where we came in.
That's exactly right. Because it's very challenging for a small business to try to manage
Absolutely.
all of the online, just a website.
Yes.
And how, I don't know, 20 years ago, it was all code and, HTML, and I'm sure that's something that's in there, but I don't know any of that stuff. Yeah. And then it's just changed all the time.
Yeah. And it's constantly transforming. And that's part of our job. You brought up a great point of just how much it has changed and how much the landscape has diversified and expanded just in the different tools you can use. And, I know we're working with you on digital ads, social media, updating your website, like you just brought up, emails, all of those are tactics that we use for lead generation for you and for all of our clients. So I guess, where would you say you see the biggest portion of your leads coming in from? Like, out of all of the efforts that we're doing, what is probably the largest lead generation source for your business?
So are you talking about just new customers, or are you talking about anything in general?
Let's talk about new leads, new clients in general.
Okay. So that's changed a lot. Okay. So for example, even just 5 years ago, there was just maybe Netflix, and maybe then Hulu started to come out.
Yeah.
And now, like, streaming services are everywhere. No one, everyone's cutting the cable, and kind of those big package television deals are gone, and it's all like menu kind of stuff. You just pick what you want.
Yeah, a la carte.
A la carte.
Yes.
Thank you. Yes. All right. And so before it was okay, for your online presence, you just need a good website. Mm-hmm. And then it's, well, now you need to work on search engine stuff, and that's an important part of the whole thing. And then we move toward like Google AdWords or those kind of things. And now we're looking at, well, now we can advertise on these streaming services because you can really target your audience, right? And it's not just this wide, just blanket kind of deal. Like you can target your customers, right?
Yeah.
So in our business, a great example is if people don't own their home, they're probably not going to be the ones, if they have some kind of plumbing problem, calling for a plumber. Right? So we want to try to target homeowners as opposed to people who rent, right? Mm-hmm. And so before, in the Yellow Pages, you had none of that, right? It was just whoever happened to pick it up, right? Yeah. But now you can kind of pick your audience and target the people that you want. I think that's a really important, and it's actually kind of a neat thing about the way digital marketing is going right now. I'm not sure that I answered your question though, which was where do we get most of our leads?
Yeah, I think you
right?
brought up good points though. And a big part of making sure that you set up a successful lead generation campaign is making sure that you're targeting the right audience. So
Sure.
To your point, yeah, you could run a Yellow Pages ad forever ago, but it would go to everybody. But, at least on our end, what we do at CA is when we're setting up your digital ads, for example, we're really able to narrow it down to the neighborhoods that they live in, that
Sure.
they are homeowners. So it's helping ensure that we are getting your message in front of the right people,
Right.
which is what you want. So
Right.
when those leads call, they're qualified leads that you can convert to sales. But yeah, no, my question was to go back to
Which
that.
one?
Which one would you say is probably when the calls come in or the form fills online come in, which is a big piece of it too, when they say, how did you hear about us? What's probably the most common one that you see?
So
Or several. I don't know if you can point one.
I don't
To
have
put you on the spot.
I don't have a great way to track that. We ask the customers they call in, how did you hear about us? And if they say, well, we found you on Google or the internet, that's kind of what people say. So we kind of know, oh, well, that's kind of in that whole digital advertising. What I do know though is that part of our sales has, it used to be just a little sliver.
Yeah.
Oh, we happened to just, I don't know, stumble across you, or we heard your name, so we looked your phone number up on the internet, right?
Yeah.
But now that other than repeat customers or referral customers, like just our online presence is our next largest lead generating form of marketing, really.
Yeah. Well, that's good. On our end too, we'll have to dig into your analytics because we can help you figure it out.
You guys actually probably know that better than me.
We can talk about that
Which
later.
ones are the best?
Yeah, so that's a pro tip is just when, people are filling out online forms, making sure people have that, or, when they call, you're asking what you guys are. But I guess online, that is a broad, we can dig into that. We'll be able to pinpoint that for you. There's a whole bunch of things, call tracking, unique link codes, I don't know. All of that stuff. How then do you, so you're tracking that, you're tracking all of your calls. Are you then, are you looking at weekly or monthly? How are you tracking the success then over that lead generation initiative? So the conversion rate, the overall success of those campaigns.
So for us, probably the biggest thing that we look at is call count. Mm-hmm. Well, and it just seems kind of basic, but how often is the phone ringing, right? Mm-hmm. And so we know that our conversion rate's pretty steady, all around, right? Mm-hmm. We have more experienced technicians that tend to do, have a better conversion rate than maybe some of our newer or less experienced technicians, but I feel like it's pretty steady. Right. So we look mostly at call count, and we know that that our lead generation's kind of getting us where we want to go if the phone keeps ringing. Right. Yep. And if it doesn't, then we'll be, we call and say, hey, is there something that we need to tweak, or is there something that we need to look at differently, and make any adjustments that we need to keep the phone ringing. Yeah,
I know some of the ways that we do it, or just in general with lead gen, is having those special offers, the different coupons that you guys have, or giveaways or contests, which I know we've implemented and we're running one right now. Just what are some of those? Can you talk a little bit about how CA then has kind of helped you with some of those lead gen efforts?
Yeah, you come up with the ideas because I'm not for the most part, Mm-hmm. So I feel like you guys have done a great job at being creative, trying to think of something that would, pique someone's interest and get them to move the mouse, or most people now are just on their phones and everything right now. So just to click on that ad, or, to maybe look into that a little bit further. So I thought that the one we were doing for the summer of having a little spinner wheel online was kind of a neat idea. Just something different that's not just the same old, hey, call us, we can help you, right?
Yeah.
And what that's done for us too is, so we kind of marketed it as a contest, but we've used it as an opportunity then to follow up with customers.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe they were trying to, get $100 off a water heater and they didn't land on that one. Well, we could call them up and say, hey, what are your needs? And, budgetary, what do you need? And hey, we can help you out here or there, and try to, really start a new relationship with a new customer. So I think that's kind of a neat creative way to do that.
Yeah. Have you heard good feedback then from people who've spun the wheel and received their offer?
Yeah. I mean, because what we kind of did on the back end of it is when we would call and they would say, well, I really got I got a leak. I need a new water heater.
Yeah.
We'd say, well, hey, we actually are kind of offering all these, kind of to fit your need. And that I thought was really,
Mm-hmm.
People were like, oh, that's kind of nice that you're doing that, even though I didn't technically win that.
It's
right?
a good connection point, though.
It really
gets the conversation going, and it helps establish that relationship, as you were
right.
saying. So they'll become a customer and then hopefully continue to come back to you.
Right. Yep. And then, then it's on us, right, to deliver what we say we're going to deliver to the customers. So. Which
you clearly do, because I know your retention rate and repeat customer base is very strong.
Yeah, we do. And we don't have, we hardly ever get any, bad reviews online. Every once in a while, I don't know how you avoid that completely, but I mean, I feel like we work pretty hard to try to, meet our customers' expectations and meet their needs and keep everyone happy. So
exactly. And that in turn leads people, that's a whole other lead generation source from
it
there.
It is. Yeah.
Then you have those people referring and
right.
That. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. What advice would you give to a small business owner who's listening, if they're looking to improve their lead generation? They don't even know where to start.
Sure.
What's some advice or tips that you would give to another business owner when looking at their lead generation?
Well, to use the cliche, it's like drinking out of a fire hose now. There's so much out there. Yeah. And we get calls all the time from places wanting to offer, just their services for very specific things. Mm-hmm. So my advice would be to find a marketing company that you can entrust them to do all of that, right? Because even if I hired a full-time person, I wouldn't be able to have a full-time person effectively do what you guys do, because you have a content department. I couldn't have somebody full-time just writing content. I don't have enough content to write, right? So, and I don't have someone who can really effectively do search engine optimization, and I'd be wasting a lot of money if I hired somebody full-time to just do search engine optimization.
Yeah.
So I highly recommend finding a marketing company, and I would obviously recommend you. We've been doing this 3 years now, right? And have been very happy with really everything across the board, because there's no way that a small business could do all that. Like I said, 30 years ago, you just buy your Yellow Page ad and move on. Mm-hmm. So, and what you guys have been really great with is when I first came and sat down with you, said, hey, here's my budget. This is kind of the dollars that I have available, right? What can we do with that? Hey, we can build a package. You guys built a package for me that fit within that budget, right? And as we've grown and been able to increase our budget, then we've been able to do other things. So for me, don't try to do it on your own. It's very scary world of digital marketing, for sure.
Yes. Well, thanks for saying that. We didn't even pay you to say that about us.
You did not.
So I appreciate that.
Right? Yeah.
We weren't even coerced to say that, but we appreciate it. And I think that is a good point, and especially important is just, as you're saying, small business owners, business leaders wear so many hats, and you don't have the time to do it all yourself. So that's where we come in. That's what our job is. That's what we're here for, is to help small businesses like Justin Dorsey Plumbing. We're able to change your strategy to fit your needs and areas of improvement in that moment. So that's really nice too. And I love that. Gosh, has it really been 3 years?
It has.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yep. No, it's been great because I just don't even worry about it, right? Mm-hmm. So I can still kind of operate like the yellow pages, where maybe once a year I work on my budget and figure out that. Then we get a strategy together for the year, and then we look quarterly at it, and then we just have a touch base once a month to kind of, hey, how are we doing? What tweaks do we need to make? And then, what do we want to do going forward?
Yeah.
So it's worked very well. I've been very happy with it, and our business has grown too, and that's been kind of neat to see that as well.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, we were just talking about that before we started recording. You guys have had quarter 1, quarter 2 of this year have been your largest ever in the company history, right?
Yep. So that's exciting.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. You want to, my boss and mentor, he always said that, a growing business, you want to have a growing business, always want to have a growing business, because if you're not growing, then you're dying. And so we want to always be moving forward. And this has been, for the service business, marketing's a huge, huge part of it. Yep. Right?
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Well, then we'll just keep working and keep those calls coming in.
That sounds great.
Every quarter.
You got it. Right?
Well, do you have anything else you'd like to add about your lead generation?
No, that sounds great. I appreciate the opportunity to come in and, hang out for a little bit.
Oh, it's been great. No, thank you. We appreciate it. And it was a good conversation.
Yeah,
a
absolutely.
lot of good information. And if you are listening and you're interested in talking to us to learn more about how we can help with your lead generation efforts, set up those strategic campaigns, reach out to us. We'd love to schedule a free strategy session where we can sit down and talk about what you're doing, what we can improve upon, and how we can best meet your goals. So thank you for listening to another episode of Making Business Personal, and we will see you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Making Business Personal podcast. Do you have a marketing question for our team? Want to hear more about a topic? Let's get personal. Connect with us, submit your questions, and share any feedback at collectivealternative.com. And don't forget to subscribe so that way you never miss an episode. We'll see you next time.